It's just a little bit more.
Wait. Okay, no, that's bull. I shouldn't. No, I two tapped you. There's no, Phoenix. I two tapped you, but
When you use it, you feel like godlike. Gotta take it to the next level, you know? But when you use it, you feel like godlike.
Guys, first off, before I get into this, I am extremely grateful of your guys' support on my previous nostalgic video. Check this out, over 7,000 likes. What? Thank you so much, everybody who decided to leave a like. And I read your guys' comments, and it seems like you guys are wanting me to throw in more weapons that were used a lot back in the day. And in this video, that's what I'm going to be doing. So hopefully you guys end up enjoying this one as well. But the question is, where do I even start with this? Wait, never mind. I need slap. This rocket right here was the weapon. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. It's one of the best weapons to be put in the Destiny franchise, PvE-wise that is. PvP, it's not the craziest because of course you need that heavy ammo to spawn, but it can still do some work. This rocket looks magnificent. It's probably one of the best looking weapons in the Destiny franchise, in my opinion that is. It's beautiful. And not to mention, most people obtaining this for their very first time would go absolutely nuts. I mean, at least I did, and I've seen quite a bit of other videos of people just going crazy getting this, screaming at the top of their lungs like, finally! Not exactly like that, you know, different things would come out like, "Ka!" and stuff like that. But it got wild, guys, I'm telling you.
Hey, the Gallahorn, I got the galley, dude! I got the galley! I just got the galley! What's up? What's up? Yeah! Look at me! I have the Gallahorn! I am the Mac Monster now! Yeah!
I didn't get this all the way until Crota's End Raid. And believe it or not, most people do remember when they first got this rocket launcher to drop. That's how special and valuable the Gallahorn was. Dear God, if you didn't choose to buy it from Xur, more than likely your mind was shocked that you got this to drop.
Yeah!
Then again, there was a select few out there that would just get this all the time. I remember this one guy got it like twice or 3 times, and he just rubbed it in my face, and he dismantled it like, "Hey, Rifle, check this out." And he just dismantled it. I'm like, really, dude? You freaking... Because that's what I was really looking for, the weapon. But I have to say, it's pretty funny to look back on. Which, the Gallahorn wasn't sold that many times at all. Anyways, the Wolfpack rounds really make the uniqueness of this rocket stand out. What the perk does, essentially, would send tiny bombs out from the rocket when it exploded, and those tiny bombs would follow a target and do additional damage. Most Destiny players, including myself to be honest with you guys, would use this weapon as a balls killer typically. If you haven't played with this, oh my gosh, I'm telling you guys, it's amazing. Okay, I feel like I'm spending too much time on this one though. You guys remember the Thorn and Last Word? Well, I decided I'd combine these two very iconic hand cannons since some people favored the Thorn and while others favored the Last Word. Don't get me wrong, both of these hand cannons were very unique and good in their own way. For instance, both of these hand cannons at one time could 2-tap enemies. Oh my gosh, that is just deadly. I don't know if you guys remember these days, but whew, 2-tapping with the Thorn or Last Word would just get annoying in the PvP world. Also, by the way, what makes the Thorn unique is when you shoot someone with it, first off, it's literally a thorn and not a bullet, which is really sweet. But also, the Thorn ends up doing additional poison damage and had one very strong hit. So not only did this thing hit like a truck, you would be getting additional damage and your screen would be all messed up since you got hit by that Thorn and are receiving poison damage. Not to mention, I mean, this thing could shoot really far for a hand cannon. It was basically like a sniper. The Last Word was an insane hip-firing machine. This hand cannon could feel almost automatic with how fast and precise it could fire. And the flip effect that it had felt awesome. Not that it did anything special, but flip. But yeah, it was pleasing to look at. A lot of good PvP players would use these hand cannons because they realized how powerful it could make you on the field. However, these weren't used that often in the PvE side, mainly PvP. I wonder how Gambit would feel if you're playing with a weapon that is primarily for PvP. I mean, I don't know, it'd be interesting because it's PvP and PvE mix. Anyways, moving on, I have for you guys another one I just had to do together. which are the Pally and Luna. I don't know if you guys remember these hand cannons, but these were also primarily for PvP, and let me tell you, both of these are freaking incredible. If you get the right rolls on these, the Luna, in my opinion, was more rare to come by because it had to be from a drop and wasn't sold from the Crucible Quartermaster, so you had to rely on RNG to get the Luna. Yeah, I sound salty for a reason. I really never got my hands on an actual God roll Isa Luna, okay? But the Pally was basically like its shadow. I mean, at least they had a God roll Pally for people that just didn't have the greatest luck with RNG, like myself. I mean, honestly, I feel like gameplay-wise, they're basically the same weapon. And most Destiny players that played PvP and Trials would be keeping an eye out for a God roll Pally being sold from the Quartermaster, which it would switch up every week. As for the Luna, you would just have to get lucky enough for a God roll to drop. Which a God roll perks for me, I mean, it may be a little bit different for you guys, were rangefinder, rifled barrel, and luck in the chamber. And keep in mind, there were a couple of other good setups that you could use with these hand cannons as well. I mean, these hand cannons were precise, far ranged, and heavy hitters. Absolutely amazing legendary primaries to have. Most Destiny PvP players would use these with a Icebreaker as a secondary. I'm telling you guys, these were the weapons to have for a long time during the meta, because there was a lot of nerfs that ended up happening with other weapons. So most Destiny PvP players would use these often with either the Matador 64 sniper, yes, that's right, I said a sniper, that thing shot too far to be a shotty and you know it. Or like I mentioned before, the Icebreaker as a secondary. That was the combination for the longest, and man do I have a lot of good memories with it. Every time I look at the Pally or the Luna, I think of Trials. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, you know what, since I'm kind of on the topic with the Icebreaker, that'll be this next one. Guys, if you haven't met the Icebreaker before, well, let me tell you, this is probably one of the most unique snipers to ever be in a freaking game. First off, the art of it looks amazing, and the different skins too, I mean, were phenomenal. I will say though, this thing shot really slow, incredibly slow, but what was unique about it was it could regenerate ammo. You'll never have to look for special ammo again while having this bad boy. It does hold a max of 6 shots, but still, I mean, it regenerates, so in reality, there is no max. I have so many great memories with this weapon as well. I mean, to put this weapon in perspective, I used it just as much as I used the Gallahorn. Except the Icebreaker was great in both PvE and PvP. This unique sniper is a boss killer for sure, and it could wreck in the PvP world. I remember, I mean, this may be odd, but I love the feeling of popping knights' heads off with this in the Crota Zen raid. But yeah, I definitely had to add this into the list. Up next, I have for you guys a gun that it didn't make a return at all in Destiny throughout the years and updates. And the reason why was because it was broken. Not that the gun was extremely overpowered. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was pretty powerful. But it was just really buggy. It was prone to just breaking. Like, it wouldn't charge, for instance, sometimes. I mean, there was just a bunch of ridiculous bugs that would keep happening after Bungie, I think, worked on this 3 times. They ended up messing around with this weapon to try to fix it, to balance it into the game, but it never ended up happening. It required a lot of attention for fixes, and it was right around when the House of Wolves DLC was coming out, so they just got tired of it, and they left it behind. Before it was nerfed in the very beginning, this weapon started with 8 shots. So yeah, this gun has been buggy and complained about since the get-go, and it was a really cool, unique fusion rifle. It's called the Pocket Infinity. I don't know if any of you guys have actually seen gameplay of this weapon, or maybe you just heard about it, but this fusion rifle stood out the most compared to all the other fusion rifles in the Destiny franchise, besides the Sleeper Simulant and the Vex Mytho class, in my opinion that is. The reason why is because it could shoot consecutively without having to reload, and it could also be pocketing ammo into your cartridge while you're shooting it. So you could shoot this way more than how much ammo it actually starts out with. It doesn't last forever, nowhere near forever, but you do get additional ammo while firing it so you can fire it longer. And like I was saying, when this thing had 8 shots, oh my gosh, you could basically be firing this thing forever. They nerfed it down to 3 to 5 shots. Yeah, kind of crazy, but this weapon I had to add into the list because Bungie kind of left it behind, and I feel like a lot of players forgot about this besides like the original Destiny players that were here in year 1. Okay, so now for the last and final nostalgic weapon that I'll be going over in this video at least is the Vex Mytho class. This weapon could only be gotten out of the first raid that we ever got to do in Destiny. and that is the Vault of Glass. This fusion rifle was extremely overpowered in the beginning. Oh my gosh, if you got to play with this in the very beginning, let's just say your kill feed was probably phenomenal in every game. The Vex ended up getting patched though pretty quickly, and it was still a very good gun. But for those of you that got to experience this weapon before that patch, oh my gosh. This fully automatic fusion rifle though was still freaking crazy even after that first patch. And not to mention, this weapon was actually more of a challenge to get than the Gallahorn. The reason why is because the Gallahorn could have been bought from Xur. Xur never sold the Vex. It could only be acquired from Atheon. So yeah, I mean, the Gallahorn could have been dropped from other bosses. Vex, however, could only have been dropped from Atheon, and would actually make it more of a challenge to get because you would have to get all the players and play through the raid and all that mumbo jumbo. But this was the first unique exotic weapon that you could get out of the raid. The next one, if you guys remember, was the Necrochasm, which you could get out of the Crota raid. But yeah, that's about wrapping up this video, everybody. Hopefully you found this enjoyable. It took forever to put this together. I'm out of here though. Thanks for taking the time to watch and listen. Till next time. Peace.